The South African Derby has a long and rich history dating back 50 years to 1965. Ernest Haywood won the first show jumping Derby at the Ananda Club, riding the horse Bohaira. This multi-discipline event has seen many top riders and horses compete for the coveted Derby title, with some exceptional combinations winning multiple times. The show jumper who enjoyed the most success in the Derby, spanning an incredible 4 decades, is the iconic Gondabeatrix.
I've won 6 derbies over the years. The first one was in 1967, which is a long time ago, and memory doesn't serve me that I can remember how excited I was, but I'm sure I was very excited. I think that on Honeygirl, when I won 2 years in a row in 79 and 80, was probably the most exciting derby, obviously because I won it 2 years in a row. The derby is a very special competition because it's unusual. They don't have the normal show jumping jumps. Obviously they have show jumping jumps, but then they also have a bank, they have a dike, they have a very, very large wide water jump, they have the steps, they have some very wide spreads. It's quite a fast time, it's a very long track, so it is very different and it's very testing for horse and rider.
Mickey Lowe won the Derby 4 times in 1970, 71 and 72 riding Torch Sign, and in 1977 on Xenophon.
No one had jumped a clear round in the Derby for the first 5 years that the Derby was run. In 1970, there were 5 of us that jumped clear rounds. I had 2, Wendy Grayson had 2, and Theo Larosse had 1, and I was lucky enough to win the jump off. And then Torch Sign won it again, 71 and 72. He was an amazing horse. He was great at everything, and particularly in the Derby. He actually only jumped in the Derby 3 times and won it each time. The victory with Xenophon in 77 is quite amusing because when we decided to retire Torch Sign in 72, I asked his owner, Tony Wilson, if he wanted to stay in the game or get out. He decided no, he would like to. So I bought Xenophon from Theo Larosse specifically to win the Derby. He turned into probably the best speed horse in the country and was successful in winning the Derby.
Ronnie Lawrence won on 4 occasions on 4 different horses, his first win coming in 1989.
Obviously, your first Derby, when I was jumping High Hopes, although she was on form and going well, it was my first Derby honour. And although she had won it previously with a previous rider some years back and then went through a really bad dip in her career, it was my first Derby with her. And I can remember sort of starting number 1 and going round and thinking, I'm clear. And when I jumped the double of gates, the white gate, and I was just coming to that last fence, that big rustic, it was like, is it going to really happen? You know, and I jumped that, the crowd went absolutely mad. And she was so good that I think if I'd started number 1 again, she would have just gone and done the same again. She was so in form, and it was a bit of a windy day. I remember warming up outside before we went in. They had to hold some of the wings because they were being blown over. So it was a great day.
Barry Taylor also won the Derby 4 times, on Checkpoint, Sunday's Eagle, and twice riding Avalanche.
The Derby in South Africa is the biggest, is the ultimate thing to win. For a lot of people, young, up and coming, it's once you've won the Derby, you sort of feel like you've arrived. It's still the big event because anybody in South Africa who owns a horse or a pony or is involved in horses in some way has an interest in the Derby, either comes to watch it, wants to know who the winner was. From that point of view, besides it's also good prize money, and obviously the test of the Derby, it's something totally different to normal jumping.
The Derby, because of its demands on both horse and rider, requires meticulous preparation.
My preparation for the Derby is obviously to differ from other shows. They're pretty fit by the time September, October comes. They're pretty fit. They've had a full season, and if you're going to win the Derby, I think you've had to have had an uninterrupted program of shows. So your horse has to have been sound and fit. It's another factor that comes into it, and then obviously. Preparing over the Derby jumps, the Derby obstacles, that they know what's going to come on the day.
Gail Foxcroft is a 3-time winner, her first 2 victories riding By and By, and her 3rd coming on Lindenberg.
By and By was the first horse I won the Derby on, and he was a big chestnut thoroughbred, and he was a fantastic horse. He belonged to my late fiance, Lachlan McLaughlin, and he did exceptionally well in the big classes with him. By won with Lachlan in 1982, and then with me in 87 and 1990. I think the most special time with him was 1990 because it was his last show, and I decided before the show to retire him. And I mean, he really went out with a bang. He was exceptional.
Peter Gotts also tasted victory on 3 occasions, all on different horses. A formidable show jumper, he was much admired and respected by his fellow competitors.
Peter winning it 3 times. I mean, he was one of the greatest riders this country's ever seen. Went on, even rode at the Olympics, was high placed in the Olympics, and a great competitor, and was a loss at the time to our sport when he stopped riding.
Peter was a fantastic rider. He's probably one of the 3 best riders we've ever had in South Africa. And well, Peter was just like any other competitor, though. He was really good, and if he was on form, then he was going to win.
Nicole Horwood is the defending champion and has had 3 consecutive wins riding Capital Don Kumarko. The pair have dominated the Derby since they first rode it in 2012.
It was my first Derby, and obviously there's so much anxiety, and I was really nervous. I don't remember much of the actual round. I do know that when I came out, I was as white as a sheet, I've been told. So it was definitely that one. You know, my goal was just to get through the finish safely. So to jump the only clear round for me was awesome, a dream come true.
To succeed in the Derby, horse and rider need to have an almost intuitive understanding of each other. Over the years, Nicole has developed an incredible bond with Don Kumarko.
I brought Don Kumarko on from a baby, so we've been together for many years, about 7-8 years. So I know his likes, his dislikes. I know him inside out. He knows me inside out. I know what he's comfortable with, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are. So I think it's a partnership over many years that's helped us become so successful.
And there it is, clear, 44-10 and strongly into the lead.